Hi and welcome, it's Gene from the maverickstar Observatory. Guys, we're in dark days, aren't we? 8,766 people have passed away as a result of COVID-19. What I wanted to do in this video is just go over for a few people a few of the common issues that I and my partner have had over the last few days with regards to the virus, and what can you do? Even as a scientist, you'd think I'd have all the answers, but clearly I don't. I wanted to also show you something that the government are talking about a lot, but perhaps you guys haven't got the clarity to understand what it is, what they're trying to do. This is, as you can see, a global problem now, and that here in the UK we have 2,642 confirmed cases of COVID-19 outbreak, and it has killed, as you can see, 72 people. I think the number's a little bit more on both the confirmed and the actual deaths, but on a whole around the world nearly 9,000 people have lost their lives to this disease, and many more are going to do so. And what the governments are doing are running programs like what we're about to show you. These are their algorithms and their programs that they're running to get an idea on how things are going to play out. So we'll just have a quick look at that. So I've calibrated it on 65,000 people, and that will change depending on the size of your population. So the peak at what they're talking about with the virus is going to be different for every country. This is the peak at where we are if we go up to these are the variables here in the assumptions and the enter data. Those where the enter data is on that right hand column are the variables which you can alter. I've focused on just two of these variables, mainly one of the variables, to give you an idea on what the other variable is. So as you can see, we are somewhere in between 41 and 106 fatalities. At the moment it stands at 104 fatalities, deaths in the UK. And I think the algorithms are holding up very well here. I've got to say big thanks to Andology for building the app. But it's down to individuals to download the app and alter the variability of the different scenarios, like the mortality rate, the infection rate, and so on. As you can see, I've set the infection rate at 2.8. I've also set the mortality rate at 1.75 and the complicator at 1.75 as well. What else did I alter? I've probably not altered much more than that. But yeah, Andy at Andology was the one that built the app, and I seem to have a bit of a talent for calibrating things to get desirables, and fit true rhythms, and it seems to be doing a very good job at this point in time. The only thing is, I will say, is the box that I've highlighted in the total infections rate is higher than what the government are saying, and the 106 fatalities is not far off the 104 that has actually been claimed. But you can see, if we start going down the next 7 days, the next 7 days, the next 7 days, if I'll just go over to that part so you can see how this works. So you can see the number of days are in 7-day or week intervals. So we are somewhere around here at the moment, and you can see the next 7 days the fatality rate should go up to 260, then 711, then 1811, and it should follow suit so long as the government don't change their policies on the way that they're handling it, and then the variables will have to change. And this modelling system is not too different to the one that the government is using right now, or right now around the world, in order to handle the predictions as to what are going to be the fatality rates. And he included hospitalisation, new infections, the resources, the total infected, the new recovered, the new fatalities, total fatalities, and the population of the country. And all these variables will alter depending on what you put in on the variables up here. So, what I did was spent a bit of time there, trying to match over a few days the fatality rates. And with the fatality rates, I wasn't too considered about the infection rates, because let's face it, the government is saying right now that there are 2,600, let's have a look, here in the UK. So 2,642, 72 fatalities. If we go back to the prediction app, we can see that it is somewhere in between the two of these figures. So somewhere in between 41 and 106. At the moment it stands at 104, so it's not far off of this one. So the government must have not accounted for people that have actually been infected right now and been confirmed, and that's why we are seeing a figure of 4,357 at the moment. What I wanted to do is just quickly go down to show you at the point where we are. We're at day 56 and we have 104 fatalities, even though this application is showing 106. And if we go over to the peak of what the governments are all talking about, that they want to flatten around the world, which means they don't want everyone to come in at the same time with an illness, because it's just going to inundate the medical health services in your country. So I know you can't see this, guys. I wonder if I can get it over. No, I can't get it over. So you can't see the scale on the left hand column, but this scale peaks here at this point around 28 million people. And you can see that we are, if we go back up, just a quick look at where we are on week 56, sorry, day 56. If we go down to day 56 and just see how far we are away here in the UK from that major peak, we will see, let's do it, just bear with me, we will get there. So 56, we're here at the moment, and we have 104 fatalities, and we are looking for at least another 35 or so days before we get into the beginning of the mountain, which is about to come. This is the peak that all governments want to suppress at the moment around the world, because you can see that as the infection rate increases and multiplies, the numbers also rapidly at that point multiply as well. Now, I've said it already, and I just want you to know that this is not too far off the prediction model that your governments will be using. So, this is what we're looking at. The only thing that can change right now is if the government change their strategy and level out this crease. But at the moment, this is the figure that we're looking at of infections, and you can see that in another 35 days here in the UK, this absolutely spikes like crazy, and infects around about 28 million people at that point, still continuing to infect lots of people but dropping off very rapidly. And you can also see the new death rates down here. And if I just go over, I don't want to frighten people, and this is just a modelling system, guys. This gives you a rough idea of what's going on. But if we just go up to the total deaths on what this is predicting at the moment, we can see that it is just short of 7 million total deaths. And that's a big spike compared to what the government are saying actually will be the case. They're expecting 20,000 deaths or less. I think they're being very optimistic with that number, given the fact that this modelling systems seen on 2 occasions now has been accurate. And we set the mortality rate, again, let me just go up here so we can see what we set it at. So we set the mortality rate at 1.75. If we go over to the website and just have a quick look at that, the UK, we can see that 2,642 people have got the virus confirmed. 72 people have died of it. The mortality rate here is showing 2.7. So that's an indication that we're underballing it at the moment. We're being optimistic more than the government, so to speak, because we've set the mortality rate at 1.75. It's almost 1% more that they've set it at. If you just look at how this accelerates from this point on using these algorithms, and it's a program at the end of the day, guys. This isn't saying that this is going to be the fact, and there is plenty of opportunities for the government to change their strategy all the way along this. But if it just remains at the same mortality rate over time, we are looking at the infection rates being very close to what this is predicting. Even though the government haven't got the infection rates confirmed, it's still focusing on the mortality rate. And I've got to say this, for the last 2 days, or the last 3 days, this has been quite accurate in the numbers set at those rates that I've set them at. But you can see how fast the numbers start to multiply using these algorithms, and you can see the infection rates and the mortality rates rapidly going over those estimates that the British government have said. Now, if you want to, guys, you can go over to Andologist's site and download the app free. He's on version 4 now, so he's updated this 4 times, and it's well worth a coffee for the time that he's invested building this app. It gives you a lot more information than what this what we're showing now. I'll go through some of the other stuff that he gives you, but if you just want to screen print those variables and just change perhaps the start date of, if you can go back and find out when the first case was. I've set mine from the 1st of the 1st 2020 for argument's sake, and obviously the population of the UK is close to the 65 million. If you want to download the app, put your population in there, put your start date in there, and perhaps set your other variables at the same as what I have done there. You may find it's not far off what you're getting as well. What you will probably see is that the rate, when it comes down to the peak, that rate will probably spread out if you've got a bigger population than what we have here in the UK. So like the United States, over 300 million people, that should be wider, I would imagine, and obviously the death rate is going to be more because of the percentage of population in your country. But this app is showing other things like, I'll just show you. So you've got the total deaths there, what it's predicting. As you can see, it is saying that there's going to be just short of 7 million deaths. You've got the population decline. I know you can't see, but it starts at 65 million, then there's this rapid drop, and that ends at just above 58 million. If we go up a little bit, right, so the blue, I know it's off the screen at the moment, but that's recovered rate. So 75% of the population recover, 10.7 it's saying of the population die, and the 13.4 is unaffected. You can see on the left hand column population infected vs uninfected. So 13.4% of the population is infected in the UK, 86% of the population are okay and recovered. And then the only other one, which is a key topic really, is the workforce distribution that is affected, and you can see 86.6% of the workforce is disrupted 2.8% of the workforce is still working, and 10.7% of the workforce is lost as a result of the deaths. That's a big chunk. That's a lot of key, people that do specific roles in our communities, in the workforce, that you can't replace overnight. But having a population disruption of 86.6% is massive. And we don't know where we're all going to be in perhaps 4 months' time with regards to the damage that this is going to cause in our communities, in our countries, in our cities. But I was talking to someone today, and I don't mind sharing it. We were just saying that this is the grid down scenario, only it's skipped the electrical grid collapse and it's gone to the next part, which would come very rapidly after the grid down scenario, which would be the food shortages as a result of people panic buying now. Now, I've got to say this, guys. I was at Costco's just out of curiosity. I wanted to see what the situation was in the shops. So we popped into Costco's, and we also popped into the second biggest city in the UK here, Birmingham. And first of all, in the city, we noticed that hardly anyone was using the pubs, restaurants, bars, cafeterias. There was just staff talking with each other and no customers. Even in Selfridges, it was like empty. The buses that we saw had hardly anyone on them, and I didn't see any trains, but I guess that was the case as well for those. I did notice a little bit more traffic on the roads during the daytime, and I think that's because some people are working from home. Some people have decided not to use public transport and use their cars as a result of that. But when we went to Costco's, guys, it was something I've never seen before. The queues and queues of people, stockpiling their stuff, and it was just amazing to see what was in their trolleys. One person would walk past you with a trolley just full of milk, another person a trolley just full of babies' nappies or diapers, or a person just flour, rice and crates of water underneath. And just the different mentalities was like, I was just thinking, what's going through that person's mind? Why did they feel the need to fill up the trolley with just sugar? Maybe they owned a shop, I don't know, but just some of the things that people were loading up in their trolleys was like stretching my imagination. Some people toilet paper, some people kitchen rolls, and of course there was nothing left when we got in there. Saying not nothing left, obviously there's a lot of stuff that people aren't interested in buying, like TVs, computers, laptops, other electrical goods, but it was just a big wide awakening to see that when you go in Costco's, usually their produce is stacked up to the ceiling, but in a lot of their corridors, in a lot of their alleys and aisles, there was nothing above the second shelf. All that stuff had been already sold out, and there wasn't a lot of range in there anyhow. So if you're going to go to Costco's now, at least the one in Birmingham by the fort, the road I'm on about, Nechells, is it, around that way, you're going to find a lot of the things that are on your list are not going to be on there. And we're already seeing this in shops. You try and buy a thermometer, and the reason why you'd want one of those is to know if you've got a temperature or not. You can feel a bit rough, but do you know you've got a temperature unless you've got a thermometer? Well, this is one of the things that we was dealing with a couple of days ago, me and my partner. We got 3 thermometers, and if you put the thermometer in your ear and press the button, it's one of these that speaks, and tells you the temperature. You put it in your other ear, a different temperature. So, I'm thinking to myself, okay, let's use the other one that's not contactless, the one that you see a lot of the people at the airport using. Let's use that. And then that was showing a different reading. And then I got another thermometer, a mercury thermometer, and that was showing a different reading. It was just like, have we got a single thermometer in the household that works and gives us an accurate reading? Of course we did have, and guess where it was? In the bug out bag. So today I got it out, and of course the temperatures of both of us was 35 and not showing a fever. But a couple of days ago, the temperatures were 38. Now, that doesn't mean we never had it, COVID virus, or not, but there was a few of the symptoms that we had. It wasn't so much the coughing, but it was like, the feeling at the front of your face, and you feel like there's a bit of pressure behind your eyes and your forehead, and you just didn't quite feel your normal self. And that could have been for other reasons other than COVID virus. It could have been, for stress or overwork and just being tired, or just watching all this stuff on the news doesn't really excite you and make you feel any happy, does it, guys? So when you wake up in a world that is at war with a biological virus, it doesn't make you feel too great, does it? So that was our dilemma. So if you haven't got a thermometer, maybe you might want to get a good one that's doesn't rely on batteries first of all, and is like one of the old alcohol thermometers that you put under your tongue, or a mercury one. I would suggest any one of those. But yeah, this is what the government are really trying to flatten out right now in the UK, and your governments in your countries will be trying to flatten out. And the reason for that is because if you've got 28 million people turning up to the accident emergency because they're not feeling well or they're very poorly, then it's going to soon inundate the health services of any country. Here in the UK, it's already pushed to its maximum potential, and it's being now expected to deal with this crisis on top of that. And they're going to be making, as they've been announcing, some very difficult decisions in the not too distant future. The whole idea really, guys, here is not to frighten you, it's just to inform you of a few things. I can see this lasting at least 6 months. And I also wanted to mention that this is like almost a dry run for what we've coming next, perhaps in the next 3 to 7 years with the pole shift. Because if you think this is bad, and obviously this is affecting the global population of the Earth, as will the magnetic pole reversal, then just adding to the fact that unlike this virus, the cosmic radiation during magnetic reversal and a collapse of the magnetosphere does not, like this virus, scrupulate on age or a gender, and whether you're terminally ill or a little bit ill. It targets completely everyone across the whole of the range group, and everyone regardless of whether they're poorly or healthy. This is almost a perfect dry run for what we've got coming at a later date. Now, you might think, oh, that's a bit strong. You don't know the implications of pole reversal or the magnetosphere collapsing. But NASA themselves have spelled it out. They don't disagree that the Earth is not at the present time going through a magnetic reversal. They agree that it is. And they also know that it could be, a major catastrophe, much worse than this one is right now. But they're not. I've mentioned it before. I've had a couple of emails off scientists that work for NASA. They said, "Yeah, we're aware of what you're talking about, Gene, and we do know about it. But NASA's not going to come out and tell people about it because one thing is we're not sure what the outcome will be, and we're not going to lose face at this time, announcing it. But you can read in between the lines here, guys, and see what has been put out by some of these scientists that work for NASA in other documentaries, like the ones we've got on the Pole Shift News website. So what you're seeing now will come and go for sure. This virus will at some point burn itself out. That's if it doesn't mutate, and there is a very real possibility of that happening because it hasn't been 150 infections and a mutation on top of that. So now we've got 2 viruses. We've got the GAT G13, I think it is, the other infection, and we've got COVID-19, and they're both, present similar symptoms, and they both target the weak and the vulnerable, and those are the people really that are going to be affected in the coming months that we see globally, guys. So, again, if you have singly elderly people in your neighbourhood or community, then keep your eye on them. This couldn't be any more meaner, this virus, than targeting the weakest, and that gets my back up, because it is always the weakest and the vulnerable that get it first, isn't it, in most case scenarios? And it just seems a little bit unfair that is the case, but it is the way it is. So, if you do have these people in your community, keep your eye on them. Perhaps if you can afford to, buy a little bit of extra food for those people that you can help out that are vulnerable. But at the same time, don't go infecting them if you're not sure if you got it. I mean, the thing is the majority of us don't know if we've got it or not. So we don't know whether to self-isolate or not. And unless you really are sneezing away, coughing away, you're feeling really sick, what do you do? In the UK, we can't go and get tested unless we are that ill to the point where we have to go to the hospital to do it. But they are trying to change the policies on this. I think what they will be adopting is something similar to the United States, like a drive-in where you can get tested. We are trying to also pioneer the testing for if you've even had the virus and got over it, so you're carrying the antigens or gens as a result of that. So that could be helpful as well, because if you have got it or you've had it, let's say if you've had it, at least you're carrying the the antivirus, so you'll be protected. It's unlikely you'll be getting it again. However, I was shocked that the health minister said that some people had managed to catch this twice, and he said it on TV. And I know someone said to me the other day, you show me somebody that's had it twice, obviously I know what he's talking about. This guy that said that, he's talking about usually when you get over something, you build up an body to it, and you won't get that same thing twice. But according to the health minister, there has been a few occasions where people have. So I don't know why that is, but it is the way it is. So some people will get it more than once. Okay, guys, I'm going to round it off here. It is the peak. It is the pressure that it puts on your national health services, and it is the amount of people that lose their lives. Really, that is the focal point with this infection, and it is something that we're all talking about at the moment. So that is why we've included it in the Pole Shift News. It doesn't overtake what we do here at the observatory. I find it fascinating when we are lucky enough to get hold of algorithms that we can alter the parameters and get an idea as to match up what is going on with the numbers of casualties and fatalities, and get an idea as to when we are likely to start seeing this really take a hold in our own countries. And if you want the same app as what I'm using here, go over to Andology's website and download the app, buy him a coffee and tell him Gene sent you, and you can put your parameters in that box, and you'll get the outcome or close to the outcome, depending on how well you calibrate it. With your figures for your country, you'll get an idea as to what to expect in the coming months. So I'll leave it there, guys. Can I just say, we are going to get over this at some point, and we are going to see the opening hours and days of the magnetic pole shift, which is going to be the focus of all major media globally at that point in time. Just because it hasn't happened right now, it doesn't mean that the research that we're doing now to underpin and get those estimates of what's going to happen at that point in time won't be critically as important. So I'm just saying, guys, don't bail on us now like some people have, because we still have the pole shift to get over, at a later date. You know, I have noticed a few people bailing out on us on Patreon. You know, the PayPal donations have gone right down. You know, we're still going to be here in 6 months' time after this peak has passed, and more people are starting to feel a little bit better. Yes, we will be having to deal with the regret of losing those people that have been lost to this, but we have still got the magnetic pole shift to get over, and that this could just be looked on as a taster as to what's to come. So what we do here at the maverickstar Observatory is equally important, and if you want to support us now more than ever, couldn't get another slap after Christmas and then this. We couldn't be hit any more than what we are right now. So guys, the link's down there. That's all I'm going to say. And it's not mandatory, but without it we can't do what we do here. Simple as that. Guys, look after your families, get ready for it, look after those ones that are vulnerable and dear to you. Prepare as best you can. We'll give you as much information we can possibly do with regards to whatever we find new about this. So that's all I'm going to say. Have a good evening, and as always, bye for now.